Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with another gadget that I think is absolutely amazing. It's an indoor security surveillance camera from a company called Wyze that's Wi-Fi enabled and allows you to stream video at a 1080p quality direct to your cell phone or even record it on the device. Now, I know there's a lot of products on the market like this, but what sets this one apart, aside from the huge set of features it gives you, is its price. This product is less than $20. I still can't get around that, and you're going to be amazed by that when I go through the description of exactly what comes with the kit and all the features that are packed into this little device. Now, the way I'd like to do this clip is I'll talk a little bit now about some of the features that are built into it so you understand what it can do for you. I'll do an unboxing of the unit. I'll do a close-up and show you where all the connections and buttons and micro SD card fits into the unit, and then I'll come back with some pros and cons of how this camera compares to others on the market. Now, I review a lot of home security cameras, and they all do pretty much the same thing, but they're technically pretty expensive compared to this guy. So when you look at something like this, I'm saying to myself, how can you possibly build a camera for less than $20 that does everything this Wyze Cam does? So I'll get into that in a minute, but before I do, let me talk about the unboxing because I'm probably going to blow your mind a couple of times in this clip, and I think the unboxing will be the place that it starts. Okay, so when you rip open the box, you get the camera, and you get an instruction manual. That's kind of nice, but I'm thinking manufacturing a product like this, that right there, $20 still blows me away. But it doesn't stop there, because inside the box is a second box. And inside that second box is a cable. They give you a 6-foot USB-A to micro USB cable. That's an $8, $9, $10 cable right there. They didn't stop there. Included as well is a power supply. So you get a beautiful USB-A wall wart that you can plug this into to power up the camera. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, there's one more thing in here. There's a little metal plate, and I'll explain what that does in a minute. But I'm thinking to myself, even if the camera was terrible, I could throw the camera out and I got 20 bucks worth of charging and cables there. So the fact that they can build a kit like this for 20 bucks, the camera must really not be that good. But it's really good. So I'm still shocked at the pricing of this when you look at the quality of what the camera can do. So let me talk a little bit about what's built into the camera. So again, I mentioned it's a 1080p streaming video quality. It connects up to your Wi-Fi network. It's very easy to set up, and you use the Wyze application. You basically bring up the application, you add it to your network, and then you can view the video from it. Now the beauty is, they give you cloud recording, which again, how do they do that? I don't know, they do. So you get a limited period of time where the recordings from the camera will upload to the cloud. So you've got them there in case, heaven forbid, somebody breaks into your house and steals the camera. The recordings are stored elsewhere, so they're not going to get away with it. In addition to that, on the bottom of the unit, there's a micro SD slot, so you can actually record directly to the unit. Now the recording can start a couple of different ways. They've built in two-way audio communication, so I can listen to what's going on in the room, and I can actually yell at somebody in the room as well. Again, how did you do that? In addition to that, it's got motion detection, so if somebody walks through the zone, it'll start recording, and it's got sound detection, so if somebody breaks a window, it's going to start recording. So it's an incredibly intelligent device in and of itself, which will record, again, directly to a micro SD card in the product, or upload that video to the cloud where you can review it later. A couple other key features I want to talk about. It's got a magnetic base, so there's a magnet built in here. Remember I mentioned this before? You can glue this, and they give you some sticky tape anywhere in your home, stick the camera to it, and then reposition the camera any way you need to. It's got a nice little set of legs that pop out there, and you can spin the camera around this way. So there isn't a place in your home that you can't actually stick this thing up and view a particular area. Now maybe that's your entry door, maybe it's the baby's room, you want to keep track of the baby, or with me, I like to have a camera in my living room because my dogs like to sleep on the couch, and when I go away for the day, sometimes I'm feeling a little homesick, I'm wondering how those guys are doing. I can turn on the camera and there are those two dogs sleeping on my couch, and I can even talk to them and say, hey, how are you guys doing? It drives them a little crazy, but it's kind of cool to see the reaction. All right, so in addition to that, and I'll show you some close-ups of this in a minute, it supports a micro SD card in the bottom. It also has a USB-A connection on the back, which is kind of making it an extensible product. They actually make a bunch of other things that plug into the camera. They've got a motion detector on the back that'll turn the camera on as well. And I'll talk about that stuff a little bit later. I should talk a little about the company too. Wyze is a company that I wasn't aware of up until about 6 months ago. And I kind of tripped over this camera because I was looking for cameras to review that were home security cameras. And I thought, what's the least expensive camera I can find that still has good quality? And I came on this Wyze camera and I thought, let me order it. It's 20 bucks. I mean, how good could it be? It's absolutely amazing. Then I looked a little further into the company. I guess their goal as a company is to build consumer level technology like cameras and a few other things for your home that I'll get into in a minute, and try to build that at a reasonable price. And this company's not stopping with this camera. They actually make a version of this, which I'll review on the channel, that's movable. So you can actually control it from your phone, you can spin it, you can pan up and down. And it's a little more expensive than this one, but it's nowhere near as expensive as a typical pan, tilt, and zoom camera is. They also make home automation products. They make a set of light bulbs that are internet connected that I can actually not only dim the light bulb, but change the color spectrum of the light bulb. So I can turn it from like a white, kind of a bluish light down to a more softer light when I want to have a nice little mood set in the afternoon. And those are incredibly inexpensive as well. So I'm going to review both of those products on the channel. I have them here in the shop and I've been testing them for the last couple of weeks. And I'm just blown away by the fact that their engineering team said, we're going to build a home security camera, Wi-Fi connected. I'm going to have two-way audio, built-in motion detection. I'm going to build in audio detection, and I'm going to do recording in the cloud, and we're going to build it for less than 20 bucks. I can't get over that price point. This could be a $40 unit. It would be worth every penny of it. All right, so enough about that. I've done the unboxing. What I'm going to do next is a close-up because there's a lot of stuff going on with this camera that you're going to want to see. So I'll do a couple of close-ups and show you everything you need to know about it. And then I'm going to come back at the end and talk a little bit about the pros and cons because not everything's perfect about it. Not that there's anything bad, but there are certain limitations you need to know that if you're going to use it in your home, you want to make sure you keep these things in mind when you set it up because it'll give you the best possible use. Two other features that I didn't mention, which I should talk about, and again, I can't get over this. Like, if it isn't enough already for 20 bucks, these are just the icing on the cake. It's got night vision built in. So if you want to put this outside your home, there are a ton of companies that make enclosures that you can bolt this, you slide it in the enclosure, makes it weatherproof, you bolt it to the side of your house. It'll give you 30 feet of nighttime, night vision kind of broadcasting. It's got infrared LEDs in the front that broadcast out and light up in an infrared way the night vision portion of it. So how cool is that? In addition to that, you can do an 8x digital zoom. So if you're watching the video footage, you can pinch and zoom on your phone and actually bring it in with an 8x digital zoom. Now, of course, it's going to pixelate because it's 1080p, but it'll give you that fine detail you need to, see what's going on out there in the environment. So all those features, again, in a camera that's 20 bucks. I mean, come on, it's so cool for that kind of money. And that's what I'm so jazzed about is I can't get over the price. All right, so stay tuned. I'm going to do a close-up next. Then I'll come back with some pros and cons. You can already tell that I love this camera. I more than love the camera, I love the company because anybody that's going to come into the consumer market and say, there's probably 600 cameras on the market that are internet connected, Wi-Fi enabled, streaming 1080p cameras, how are we going to build something different? This is huge. This is different. This is a big, big difference to everything else in the market today. And that price point is going to make it very affordable for anybody. So stay tuned and we'll do the close-ups, then I'll come back with the conclusions. And I'll give you some sort of examples of what it looks like. I took it outside, walked past it, triggered the motion, and it recorded me out in the front yard. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. Now let's take a closer look at the Wyze Cam, and I'll start with its physical construction. The unit's made from a high-impact plastic, and they've chosen a very neutral color scheme for it as well, with the top module that houses the camera and the electronics being white and the base being gray, which means this will easily blend into any room in your home. I also think that the choice of materials was clever as well because making it out of plastic means you're lowering the production costs. It also means that it's very lightweight and durable because if you're using the magnetic base on the bottom to adhere it to a surface, the last thing you want is a big heavy metal cabinet breaking that magnetic bond and conking somebody on the head. The case being plastic also means that it's not interfering with the Wi-Fi internally to make a connection to your network, and you don't have to worry about having an external antenna. Now the base is adjustable in 3 different directions. You can pull the camera up like this to give you vertical adjustment. You can twist the camera on there to give you a second axis of adjustment. And then finally you can twist it, which enables you to mount this on pretty much any surface and still find a nice level view of the area you're trying to monitor. Now the base of the unit has a magnet built in, I'll explain that in a minute, but I wanted to point out these 4 little pads here, which I think is a really nice touch. When a company does something like that and pays attention to detail, that tells me they care a lot about the customer because they've thought a lot about what this product's going to be used for. Those 4 pads protect the table you're putting it on from scratches on the plastic. They could have just made it straight plastic, but adding those 4 pads protects the surface. And the second thing it does is if you're putting it down on a surface that's not perfectly level, it means it's not going to walk itself across that surface over time. So nice little touch on the bottom. Now the magnet in there is powerful enough that if you want to mount this on any metal surface in your home, say a refrigerator, or if you've got a wall grate or a floor grate, as long as it's metal, it's going to stick to it and stay where you put it. But if you try to mount this to, say, a sheetrock wall or maybe a stone wall or some uneven surface, they include a nice little metal disc that you can use double-sided tape on the back. You can adhere this to that sheetrock wall, and this thing will stick right on it like that. So once it's there, you're good to go. And what that does is eliminate the need to use screws or nails or glue or anything else that's going to mess up your wall. You can actually pull it off later on and move it around as you need to. So a nice touch there. Now the unit itself has got nothing on either side or the top. On the front, You've got the camera lensing right here. You've also, behind this, you can't see it because it's behind this opaque surface, you have 4 infrared LEDs. Now those are important because when it's in night view mode, it needs to illuminate the surface and the people that are out there in the dark, and those infrared LEDs will turn on and they'll flood that area with infrared light, which basically turns the night to daytime, and the camera can pick up anything that's in that area in a black and white fashion. You have a motion detector in it as well that'll actually sense motion across its field of view and start recording, and they've built everything into a nice little flat surface. On the back of the unit, you've got a couple of things to pay attention to. You've got venting on the top up here, which serves a couple of different purposes. Number one, it keeps the electronics inside at a very comfortable temperature. It's also the place that the audio that you're listening to will come in, and you can talk to people from there. So there's a speaker and a microphone behind there. On the bottom is a micro USB connection. That's what you use to power the unit. They include a power supply that plugs into the wall. It's a standard 5-volt USB-A connection. It's about a 1 amp worth of current, which is plenty to power this unit. And they also include a really nice 6-foot cable that has a USB-A connection that plugs in here, and a micro USB connection that plugs in the bottom of the unit. All you have to do is plug this in the wall, make the connection to the cable to the camera, and you're off and running. Now you're probably wondering what that other USB-A connection above it is, and that's there for future expansion. So they've made a couple of modules available that snap on the back of this that do motion sensing and a few other things. And what I like about that is they're thinking about future uses of the product, and that port being there means it's extensible and you can expand its use case over time. So if you want to use motion sensors in addition to the one in the front, you can snap them on the back, they connect to that USB-A, and you're off and running. The last thing is there's a small hole right there. That's a status indicator light. Now one thing I forgot to mention on the bottom is more venting, so there's plenty of venting to let heat out. There's a reset button right there, and that's what you use to sync it up when you first set up the unit. And then there's a micro SD card slot right there, where if you want to do local recording on the unit, you can stick an SD card in there up to 64 gigabytes and actually record right to that card. So it gives you a lot of versatility, a lot of functionality in a tiny little package. And again, I still can't get past the price of this thing. I think it's an amazing value for the money. In this last section, I'll mention a few things to keep in mind when considering the Wyze Cam for your own home. Just a short pros and cons comparison. And you already know all the pros because I just spent a lot of time talking about all the features this product provides. And I still can't get past the fact that the engineering and design teams over at Wyze were able to build such a feature-rich product that's functional for less than 20 bucks. I can't get past that because when I compare this camera to other cameras in the market with similar feature sets, that's a $35 or $40 camera. So the fact that Wyze can release it at half that price means the nerd in me loves it twice as much. So let me remind you what you get for your $20. The camera can stream 1080p video to your smartphone, to the cloud, or to the internal micro SD card. Now that would be enough for me right there. All I need is a camera that does that, and I'm a happy camper. The fact that they include a power supply and a cable on top of it is just icing on the cake. But it doesn't stop there. It's got both sound and motion detection, which means you can point this at your front foyer. If somebody makes a noise or walks past the camera's field of view, it's going to start recording, which makes it the perfect security camera that's really easy to set up, and it just does the job. It has two-way audio built in. So I can listen to something in a room, I can talk to people in a room. Now it's my perfect baby monitor. I can set it up in the baby's room. If he or she is sleeping and wakes up, I'll know immediately because I'll hear it. They'll move, I'll see the motion up there. So it's not only security, but it's also a monitoring device. It has night vision built in. So it's got IR infrared diodes on the front that'll broadcast a stream of infrared light into a dark area and light that up. So if somebody's in that area up to 30 feet away, I've got a pretty clear view of them in the darkest of night. So it builds a lot of really cool features in it that you typically find in more expensive cameras. The fact that it's got a magnetic base makes it really easy to mount it anywhere I want to. I've got micro SD storage inside. I've got free cloud storage from the company for a limited amount of space. And I also have the ability to do 8-inch digital zoom on it, so I can, if I'm looking at a particular scene, I can pinch and zoom and pull in details that I absolutely need to see. The last thing, which I didn't really spend a lot of time talking about, is that it's a smart device, which means it works with Google Home, and it works with the Alexa products as well, the Amazon Alexa products. So you can be sitting in front of one of your Google products if you've got a screen on it, or I should say the Alexa products too, if you've got a screen on it, and say, show me the front door, show me the baby's room, and a picture will pop up. So it's way more sophisticated than the $20 price would let you to believe. Let me talk about some of the stuff you need to be aware of, because not every product out there is 100% perfect. I don't know if there are any that are 100% perfect. So there are a few things about it that I wouldn't call negatives. I would call them things to be aware of. First one is that the Wi-Fi connection is only a 2.4 gigahertz. Now, if you've got modern Wi-Fi, you've probably got a dual band, which is 2.4 and 5.8. We all know the 5.8 is more powerful. It's a little bit more resilient. So 2.4 means that when you're using this, and it works great on 2.4, it just means you can't move it as far away from your Wi-Fi setup. Now, most homes have a really broad Wi-Fi spectrum, so you can walk outside, you're still getting Wi-Fi connections, but just be aware of that, because what happens is the camera's smart enough to know how strong that Wi-Fi signal is, and if you get too far away from it, it starts to get weak. It'll actually bring the resolution down, so it'll go from 1080p to 720p and even lower, which means you're going to get a lot of pixelization in there, which isn't great. So just test it. I mean, in my case, I've spent a lot of time with it. We have 2.4 and 5.8 in my house, and it is all over the backyard. So if I walk away from my house, I probably get 50, 60 feet away from the house, and I still get a great picture. And I'm not going to be mounting this thing on a tree in the backyard. It's going to be mounted to the house, so I've got perfect Wi-Fi connectivity there. The other thing you want to be aware of is it's not waterproof, so it's a great indoor camera, but don't worry, there's a lot of companies that make accessories for this that you can actually mount it outside. So there are inexpensive housings you can slide this thing into, mount it to the side of your house, and there's a wide variety of products. I'll put some links below to some of the ones that I've tested, but they make them in traditional like outdoor camera mode. So if people see it, they go, hey, he's got security cameras up there. Others look like little birdhouses. They're adorable that you can put up there, and it's not as obvious you've got a security camera. So if you're going to do it outside, you've got to make sure you've got one of those. The only other drawback to it, some of these cameras are battery powered or rechargeable or even solar powered. This one requires a physical connection with that cable. So if you're mounting it outside the house, you got to have some way to get electric to it. And if you're going to put it inside the house, especially if you mount it on a ceiling or something, you got to be aware of that, because you have to power the thing up. It isn't going to run on its own. And again, that's just common sense. But even there's solutions for it. So I've run this thing on a battery bank outside. Maybe I want to do temporary security in the back, or maybe I'm interested in the squirrels or chipmunks back there, and I'll set it up on my wall, put a battery bank on it, let it record for an afternoon, and get some great footage of those squirrels and chipmunks. But you have to power it up somehow. There are companies, again, that make accessories that can power this with a solar panel if you put it outside. There are companies indoors. They're so creative, these accessory companies. They've actually got a wall plug. It's a charger that you plug into the wall. This thing sits on the top of it. So anywhere you have an outlet, you can basically take this over to it, plug it in, it powers up, and you can use it as a security camera. So there are a lot of ways to get around that. Short of that, I mean, the only other complaint I had, and it's not really a complaint, is it's 1080p video. But it's so dependent on that Wi-Fi signal, like I mentioned a minute ago, that I did notice some pixelization if the signal was in and out, if I was getting a little fluctuation in the signal. But to be honest with you, if I'm using it as a security camera, all I want to know is, did somebody walk through my backyard at 2 in the morning, or somebody out there messing around with my stuff? And it does a wonderful job of that. So just be aware of the fact that there may be some pixelization if your Wi-Fi signal is not as strong as it can be. If you get close to the Wi-Fi signal, you're going to be perfectly fine. And that's really the only problem with it. And again, they're not problems, they're just things to be aware of. I love this product. I'm a huge fan of it. And again, I kind of stumbled across it a couple weeks back when I was looking at all the different security cameras that I wanted to review on the channel. I was looking for some that were inexpensive, that would be easy to install. And I found this one and I thought, you know what? There's no way this thing's going to do everything they say it does. For 20 bucks, let me buy it, bring it in and take a look at it. These guys aren't paying me for this review. It's just me being a nerd, interested in new technology, telling you about what I think is one of the coolest products I found this year. So it works. And if you want to buy it, I got links below. Believe me, they give me a little credit on Amazon if you use those links. But I'm here mostly to let you know about the product because I'm excited about it. And anytime somebody mentions security cameras, it's the first one I talk about for the average consumer to hook up in their home. So that's pretty much all I had today. I really appreciate you guys watching the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button down there. I've got a ton more content coming on security cameras, automation stuff. I've got tons of drone footage coming. I've got RC stuff. I've got underwater drones. So the channel is just going to be flooded with a ton of new content coming up on a lot of really exciting products. And you can tell that I love technology. So putting these clips together for me is a delight. I just love it. And as long as you guys are finding value in it, I'm going to continue to do it. So thanks again for watching. And until next time, stay nerdy.